Okay, 501. Welcome everybody who is watching us with our webinar series with the project from CG Cool Collaboration, hashtag Stay at Home Sessions Volume 2. Again, we are having this webinar series for project management and a little bit of improvement of project management skills and preparing some video materials for everybody else, everybody who is watching. And if you are accidentally not watching or skipped it, missed it, no problem. It will be shared, it will be provided for everybody else later on when it will be prepared as it should be in a nice form. And we had some introduction last week about the project management. Actually, what's a project, what's the difference between the project and process and program. And now we are going to dig a little bit deeper to the project itself. And this whole weekend, actually, we are going to talk about the magical project triangle. Looks like this, that it's not a triangle, actually, it's a triple constraint with 3 parts. And we are going to talk about these 3 parts during this weekend. And today we are going to focus just on the top, which is maybe the most not understood part, because the cost and resource, we understand it. It's the money and it's the effort or human resource we are putting in the project. Then we have the schedule or time, the time frames and everything else with that, but the scope, like maybe some of you don't know what's the scope, so we are going to focus on that one. So what's the scope? When we are defining the scope, it's actually what we are going to do during this project, what will be produced, what will be provided, or what will be delivered. And we can go this from top to bottom system. So we have the goal. As we said the last week, we always focus on some goal or something we want to achieve, we want to do or want to improve. There is a problem, usually in society, or something we can change, we want to change. Then this is our goal. To achieve this goal, we have defined objectives for the project. So the goal is, let's say, last week we defined it's a long-term goal, what will be achieved. Even our project will end, let's say, in 2021 November, but it will influence a longer time period. So we will create the objective, we will achieve it, but the goal will be achieved, or we will get to the goal later on, or we can say if we get the goal or not. The objective is something, as we said, what will happen until the end of the project. So something, what we will achieve, what we will do, what we will produce, let's say, until the end of the project. Then we have the deliverables. The deliverables is it's some tool to achieve the objective. So by creating something, it's usually a tangible thing, maybe a product, what helps us to achieve the objective, and what the objective, reaching the objective, will help us to reach the goal. And then when we have the deliverables, something we will produce, we will go a little bit more into depth. We have the tasks. This is some activities, some stuff we need to do, usually defined step by step, that will help us to produce the deliverables or to create them. For example, the goal of our project, the Cool Collaboration, is to increase the project management, online collaboration and communication competencies of youth workers in the partner NGOs. And this skill set or things we will learn will help us to implement higher quality projects. And the objectives will be that we will familiarize participants and youth workers with the project management basics. We will implement some new collaboration tools, especially online collaboration tools, how to work more efficiently, and increasing the communication competencies. And these objectives, if we will achieve, we will get to the goal or results, the goal that we want to implement higher quality projects in the future. So again, back to this triple constraint, if we know what's the scope, we have the resources or budget, the time, schedule, and the scope in the top. Usually this is defined when you are applying for a project. This is the pre-project phase, let's say, that when you are applying or suggesting a project, what you want to do. This is applied for the project owner, which is the national agency in this case, in the case of Erasmus Plus projects. And if they approve, they can approve it the way that we applied, or they can do some minor changes. But then we need to decide that if we are going to do it that way or not. If let's say the participants will be cut, or the group is too big, or we won't have 2 group leaders per group, just 1, there will be adjustments. And after this, both of the sides, so the project owner and the project manager, need to sign the contract, and they will implement the project the way it is written and the way it is prepared. But in any other case or everything else, this is by magical triangle, I mean that if you are changing one aspect of the triangle, maybe both other aspects need to be changed, other parameters. That means that if you want to produce something, you have the scope, and the project owner says that you are not getting enough resources for that. Okay, then maybe you will need to do it for a longer time. It will take you longer. Or you cannot produce that deliverables or that objectives which were discussed. Or if someone says that you don't have enough time, let's say, then you either need to reduce the scope or increase the cost, means hiring more people or hire someone who can do it, or multiple people can work on the same stuff if it's possible. If it's not, then just maybe reducing the scope. And thing can happen that you are not adjusting or modifying, adapting the other 2 aspects, and that can lead to can be done. The project can be done the way, but usually nobody will be happy, and the quality suffers usually. So if you need to do something, you need to, let's say, build a house. It's easier to imagine. And the project owner says that he's not giving you enough money for that, the quality of the house will be not that good. The quality of the materials used will not be that good, or it will take longer time to build the house because you don't have enough workers. So usually you've seen a lot of examples on the internet, but this is how it works in actual project management, that you need to adapt one at least, or maybe 2 sides of the triple constraint. Okay, so today, as we are still looking at the triple constraint, we are going to talk about the project scope, and tomorrow's topic is the budget and the time or schedule. So about the project scope, or planning the scope, planning the deliverables. One of the easiest, and not easiest way, but it's good to visualize and good to understand, the more people can work on the same stuff when we are using mind map. If you're not familiar with the mind map, we are going to explain what is it actually and how does it work. Usually people are using, not usually, you have online tools, online apps which you can use, which are handy, but when multiple people are working, it can be better to do it on flipchart and to use these sticky notes or post-it notes. So multiple people can add stuff, they can move it, they can change it a little bit. But when you're working with the computer, it's cool, it's okay, but then just one people is clicking and doing the input, doing the information input, and the rest of them are looking. So during the brainstorming, when you are preparing it, it's good to have it on paper. Then, of course, to reflect it in the computer, because everything, when you have everything digitally, it's always good, always better. So when you are preparing the deliverables, you have something what you need to implement, what you need to do. And you are starting with the biggest part, or the biggest stuff you will do, the objective. And usually in this Erasmus Plus project, it's when we are changing something, we have a project, what we want to do. We are achieving this objective by organizing a youth exchange, let's say. So in the middle we have the youth exchange. We need to do a youth exchange, and now we need to think about everything what need to be done or what need to be not even produced, because some of the parts cannot be tangible but need to be done, and those are the deliverables. For example, we have the accommodation. We need to have accommodation. We are going to have like 50-60 participants. We need to have accommodation for that. How to get the accommodation? Some of the companies or some of the organizations, when you write that, okay, accommodation is completely fine. When there are professionals working, they know what to do. You don't need to explain more time, but usually I highly recommend you to break it down even deeper or in parts as a process, what to do and what you need to do, because you will have a better tracking of the whole system, if it's working, if it's done as it should be, and if you will achieve it. But with this one later on. So with the accommodation, we need to have a list of offers, because you are, and not just the accommodation, but you are not going for the first offer. If it's something that you are not working on for working or cooperating with a longer time, you need to have a list of offers or possibilities or location and price offers, and possible dates when it can be done. If it's okay, if it's good for the group leaders and everyone, you need to have a list of offers and decide which one you will choose or which one is the best option. And of course, you need to have a booking of the accommodation, because if you are skipping this booking, it can happen that you won't have accommodation, and it will be a huge problem, because everything else will be skipped or cancelled, because if you don't have accommodation, it's hard to arrange a youth exchange. Then, for example, food. This is a good example now, because in project usually you can do it by yourself or you can prepare it, but if it will be an external supplier, then you will just state that, okay, we have the food is done. When the accommodation is providing the food, this is the most usual case, then you don't need to specify that, okay, we need to go and buy groceries and we need to hire a chef and stuff, because the accommodation is providing this. Is an external provider, so you don't need to specify more. You just need to ensure that, okay, it's done, we will have it, it's discussed. Then one important part is the participants, who is going to participate. That's the most crucial part. And this is just, okay, of course, it's not all the steps, just to understand how does it work. For participants, to get the participants or to inform them about the happenings and the project will happen, and to have a proper selection process from participants who are most interested and can benefit the most from the project, we need to prepare an application form for them, so we can select participants based on the motivation or experiences or added value, let's say, or contributions, and prepare an info pack even before the application form, so they will understand that, okay, this project will happen here, etc. in dates, this, about the topic, blah, blah, blah. Then we need to make sure that the travel is arranged, either that they will arrange it for themselves, but usually it's better to arrange it for them. So it can be either bus or flight, or a combination. If the participants, let's say from Spain, going to Slovakia, of course it will be flight, but flight is stuff that maybe will be there, maybe not. The t-shirts, again, usually it's an external company, because in organizations they are not printing t-shirts or preparing them and ordering the stuff, just ordering from a company, but we need to provide a graphic design or a logo for the t-shirt, how big it will be, where it will be, the color of the t-shirt, and all the stuff like this, and the company will provide, but we need to have it. And again, one important part, the supplies. We are talking now about the office supplies, or the supplies which the participants will use during the youth exchange. And those are the markers and pens and flip charts and papers and duct tape and sticky notes and everything you can imagine. So this flip chart or mind map can be much bigger, but this is a way how you can think about the stuff what need to be done, deliverables which need to be produced or not achieved, but to be arranged, let's say. this is just one way. The mind map is one way how to prepare it. It's easier. Multiple people can work on it. It's a good way. It's an efficient way, let's call it. But you have multiple ways. If you are doing it this way, for example, you have the list of deliverables. Separating it by colors, it makes it easier or better for you to overlook which goes to which category. The info page and target groups contacting and application form goes to the participant. Let's say if it's yellow, you know to which phase it goes. Or you can go by this deliverable breakdown structure, and by this we are getting closer to the topic, the second half of the topic of the day. So again, the project is the big part of the youth exchange. Then we have these phases: accommodation, participants, or supplies, and under this we are listing the all things what to deliver or what to prepare. Now, if you attended the previous webinar, you've seen this elephant. Poor little animal. We are always talking about him, but there is a big question. You'll understand later why I'm asking. If we can eat an elephant, we can, but of course not the big part like just like this. If you want to eat an elephant, if a man can eat an elephant, but you need to chop it to smaller pieces. So you can chop, and the elephant is smaller, and piece by piece you can go and eat it. You shouldn't eat an elephant, but this is how we are preparing, or how we are dealing with some big parts, because the project itself can look difficult, it can be difficult or complex when you're looking at the first sight. When there are startup companies or someone who have never done a project, usually the best advice is to chop it in pieces, prepare it in pieces, and you can start somewhere. You cannot like deal with the whole project at one time. You need to chop it, you need to delegate it a little bit or prepare it in small pieces, and then you can deal with the whole project. Of course, usually this is not enough to cut it like this, so you can even cut it a little bit smaller pieces like you see now. And when you are starting with one point, you are starting, let's say, with this one. And now what comes? You need to define this one part. This is some part of the elephant which you need to define, that what is going to happen, what you will do with this part. So the first question, what must be done? This is one of the parts of the work packages, because those which we cut the elephant is the work package, as we are eating the elephant or doing something, some part of the project, it's a work package. So we need to define that at this package, this part, this phase, this package, what will be done here. Then when it will be done or when it will happen. The when, by when, we mean the time frame. So between the dates, this and this, from 1st of September to 14th of September, and the order. The order means the work packages need to have some order to do, because some of the packages you cannot start before finishing the first one. That's a topic for later on. The cost. The cost is always two things, which can be money, because when you say cost, it's money, the easier, but Monday, because the Monday is a cost as well, because the people is working on something, preparing it, and it's not for free. It costs energy, it costs time, it costs effort. And you need to define with this work package who is going to do that, meaning not just who is going to do that, but who is the responsible, because someone is doing it, it's okay, but someone is responsible to overlook the people who are doing that part, or someone, if it will not happen or something will go wrong, you need to know who to contact. Who is the to set the accountability, that who is accountable for this part, that it will happen as it have to be, when it has to be, and for the cost of that. And of course can be defined the cooperation, that multiple people from the project organization can work at the same part of the work package. So if someone is responsible for doing this package, it doesn't mean that he's going to do that, he will be the one overlooking. And like this, step by step, we are getting to the work breakdown structure. So we have the project. It's not the project one. For the numbering, we are getting later on. So this is the project, and these are the phases of the project. So I did just some examples, so it's not the full all the phases of the project. This is just examples, but for you to understand, it's good. So the first phase is the activity planning, that something will happen, the youth exchange will happen, so we are planning the activity. Then we need to promote the project or promote the youth exchange. That's the second phase. Then actually the mobility will happen. This is the youth exchange itself happening, those 8 or 12 days of activity. And we have some follow-up activities after the project. So these are the phases. And within the phases, we have some work packages again. Okay, is it fine? Cool. I hope it's working again. We had some minor issues with the connection. I hope it's fine. So let's briefly, I don't know in which part I got disconnected, but let's briefly run through again the work breakdown structure one more time. So we have the project itself, which are separated into phases, which of course those are not basic phases which we need to use. We are using the phases we will define for ourselves, which will suit to our project or which will fit to our project. And we have the work packages. It can be called tasks. Someone is calling it task, but according to the IPMA definitions, it's not task, it should be work packages. But both of them are good to use. Usually it goes like this, that the project is starting on the left top corner. So this 1.1.1 will be the first one to start. And usually it will finish in the right bottom. It doesn't mean that we are going by order just from 1, then the 1.2, then the 1.3. It can be a little bit combined. So the progress line of the project is usually from the phases, but some of the phases can overlap a little bit. This is the phase progress, that usually the phases are not are going in order, but some phases can happen at the same time. But it goes like this. When you are preparing it or you are structuring it, it has to be done like this, that from left to the right, you are preparing it, you are numbering it this way. Now, as we have the project, the phases, and the work packages, you can see these numbers under that. This is the VBS code, or the work breakdown structure code. It's good to use it. It's kind of mandatory if you are using VBS, because you are defining the project itself. Then the second number is the phase of the project, and the third number is the number of the work package. It's super handy to use, because you can identify the work package just by its code, and you can locate it. So if you cannot remember the name of this part or the package, because you have a lot of them, then you can just say that this person is responsible for the work package 1.2.2. And everybody will know that you are talking about, even if not the exact name of the work package, they will know where is it approximately located and who can be responsible, in which phase it, and stuff like that, or which part of the project, of your project. You can use both of the methods, so the top-down or bottom-up method. That means that you can go from the biggest part, which is the project or the youth exchange itself, and then go into deeper and deeper and deeper. That's the top-down, so you are going in smaller part all the time. Or you can collect all the small parts, and you as a project manager will separate them or arrange it to the phases, what have to be done where. This work breakdown structure is the hierarchical representation of all project tasks. That means that you can see which task or which part need to be done when and where and before which and after what part or after what work package. These tasks or small partial tasks or packages are activities which will lead us to the complete result. That means that we need to do all the parts to achieve what we want to achieve, and it's a good controlling mechanism. I almost forgot to mention that when you are checking the mind map, you have all the deliverables, what you need to produce, what you need to achieve, what you need to have, and all of those from the mind map, which we did or explained, need to be reflected in the work breakdown structure. If something is missing, then you know that you will most probably skip one part of the project or one part of the work, and you will miss one part of the whole result, what need to be delivered or need to be done. So by this you can control easily what is happening or what, if you will deliver all the results you need. It's a planning and controlling tool, not just controlling the deliverables or if it contains the deliverables, but you can, let's say on a monthly basis, if it's a bigger project, control that in which phase or which part you are in the project, or which is complete, which is not complete, which is in progress, which is already done. You can reflect it with different colors. So let's say that when you planned all the activity and you started promoting the project, then you can color all the activity planning and all the work packages under that on green. You are working on preparation of the graphics. It, let's say, takes 2 man days. It doesn't, but the application form can. So, okay, the application form takes 2 man days, so it's already in progress. It will be yellow, and the rest which you haven't started, it will be blue, let's say. So you are checking and controlling all the stuff. If someone is asking you from either the project team members or the project owner is asking how is the status of the project, if you show this work breakdown structure, they should understand. If someone new will come to the company or to the organization, by this, how you show them the VBS, they should understand how does it work and what should be done, what should be delivered, if they have a basic understanding for the project management and VBS. Again, communication instrument, as we said, if you show it to someone, show it to the project owner, the project team members, they should understand how does it work. If it's online or it's posted somewhere, usually Microsoft Planner is kind of good for this, to track the status of all the tasks or all the work packages. They don't need to ask questions or silly questions or unnecessary questions. They will understand that in which part we are now, what has to be done, what is not done yet, what we already did. And the top-down, bottom-up approach, we said, we can go from the biggest part and rip it in pieces as piece by piece to go in depth, or collect all the deliverables, all the stuff, all the work, what has to be done, and put it in order and arrange it into phases hierarchically or with time, what goes after what in order. Okay, and there are some recommendations with the VBS. If you are preparing it, it cannot be too difficult or too complex or too much points to contain. It cannot be just like 3 points. You need to find the best balance with the information provided. Usually 5 or 7 phases are okay when it comes to not the complex project or a program. Then 5 or 7 phases should be enough to explain what should be done or what must be done. And 3 to 9 work packages per phase. If it's just one work package per phase, it doesn't really have to have its own phase, let's say. You have the project management phase. What does it mean? When you can see this activity planning, project promotion, mobility, usually before this, all phases, you are putting the project management phase, and there is the that represents all the work was done during the project, because this work breakdown structure means work that it's effort, which is the input to the project, what needs to be done, and the effort it needs to achieve the goal, the results. And the project management phase is important too, because it contains the coordination and some meetings and midterm meetings and final evaluation meetings, and to control the happenings if it goes as it should. And it takes effort and it takes money. If you are, let's say, having a hotel or accommodation and people use money to get to the accommodation, and you need to pay for the accommodation and stuff to arrange the meeting, it's again costs. And if you don't have the face for that, it won't be accurate. You will be missing the budget part of the triple constraint won't be okay. It will be missing parts. As we said, you can check the completeness of the work breakdown structure with using the deliverables. So you can check if all the deliverables are visualized on the VBS. Just for one work package, just one person is responsible. It doesn't mean that just one person is working on that. It means that one person is responsible. He is putting together he's ensuring that the work package will be ready on time in full. That means that if I'm responsible for publishing the info pack, but I have zero clue how does the Facebook work, how does the mailing list and everything works, I will ensure that someone will prepare it and someone will publish the info pack as it should be, usually the specialist or someone who is better in the IT. But if it's not done, the project manager or the project owner will contact me why it's not done, because I'm the responsible person for that. And it's just one, because if you would have two, what can happen? That I thought that you are going to do it, and the second will say, I thought that you are going to do it, and nobody will do it, and the work package is not done, and you are missing the result. And you cannot continue with the project, and it's prolonged, and the longer time you need, the more money you need, and you are decreasing the quality of the project. It's good to cyclically update, so by that it's a good controlling mechanism. Depending on the size of the project, monthly or weekly or even daily, you can update this VBS by the status that it started, it's finished, it's done, it's not ready, it's not prepared yet. You can check if it's happening. The more often you do, the more accurate result you have, and the sooner you can do something with that. Because if some work package is not happening, and you will realize it just 1 month later, you skipped 1 month of the time, and that's a huge problem. But if you are checking it on a weekly basis, let's say, after 1 week nothing happened, you can contact the responsible person and ask that, okay, what's happening, why is not working? And you can solve the problem much sooner and not just 1 month later. And we mentioned that using the post-its, but just for the drafting. So I prefer using the online tools or digital tools. It's always better, it's always faster. But when you are drafting or preparing this VBS, to use these post-it notes or sticky notes or whatever you call it, use a huge flip chart paper, and multiple project team members can stand there. Not all of them. If 100 people is working on one project, let's say, you are not using that, but if some core members are standing there and preparing and putting and switching, so you can say that, okay, we need to do an info pack, and then you say that, okay, we need a graphic for the info pack, but like, cool, but we need to switch the two parts because the graphic need to be prepared first before preparing the info pack. Even the application form is the part of the info pack, so it needs to be prepared first. So when you're standing there, you can switch those post-it notes. And when it's ready, when it's done, when you agreed on the VBS, what will be done, you agreed on the project scope, that this will be done this way, then you can put it in digital form. Okay. So this was the first part of the triple constraint, or our magical triangle, that what will be delivered during the project, what will be done. Thank you for watching, and see you tomorrow with the topic of, I hope you already know which are the two missing parts of the triple constraint, which will be the budget or the human resources. Again, budget means money and human resources, but don't underestimate the power of, or the importance of the human resource, and the schedule or time. It will happen tomorrow, the same time as today, and hope to see you there. I hope you're paying attention or you're watching, because this VBS will be the basic, or the, if it will be important to understand the upcoming parts, or it will be connected with these parts. If you haven't watched, don't be scared, and nothing bad will happen. I will explain it briefly in the beginning of tomorrow. Okay, and if you have any questions, if something is not clear, or some parts should be paid more attention to, or explain it a little bit deeper, which you consider important, just mention, just contact us, and we can prepare something for that. Okay. So we have some questions here. To what detail do you normally use the work breakdown structure? How much should you break it? It's a good question, actually. That you need to break. Different people, different team members need to have the overlook in different depth. So someone who is responsible for facilitating the project, let's say, don't have to have all the information about the accommodation booking. It's not relevant for him. So when you are planning the VBS, usually when you print it out, it should fit on one A4 page. That's the best. So it's hard to define if it's 5 or 9 phases or work packages, but if it fits in one A4 page, it should be completely correct, and all the people should get the information to have a good overlook about the whole project, what will happen. And if someone needs to have deeper information, they can go for deeper information, but to have the precise overlook, if it fits on one A4 page, then everybody should understand it. And of course, I don't have to mention that all the team members need to have a good overview about the whole project. They need to understand, otherwise they don't know what they are doing, and they cannot see the connections between the phases or the work packages. Okay. Thank you, Anna. Thanks for watching. Thank you, Bebe, for question. It was a good question. So if we don't have any other questions, thank you. And tomorrow we will continue with the budget, human resource, and scheduling of the project, how to prepare it. Thank you one more time. Have a nice weekend. Take a rest and see you tomorrow.